My name is Maya Collins, and the morning my daughter turned 10, I woke up before the sun did. There's something about double digits that feels heavier than other birthdays. 9 still belongs to childhood. 10 feels like a door cracking open into something bigger, something you can't quite protect anymore. Lily had been counting down for months, circling the date in purple marker on the calendar like it was a promise the world had made to her. I lay in bed listening to the house breathe. The hum of the refrigerator, the soft tick of the hallway clock, Lily's faint snore drifting from her room. I gave myself one quiet moment before getting up, the kind mothers steal when they know the day will belong to someone else. By 5:30 a.m., I was in the kitchen, blowing up balloons until my cheeks hurt. Pink, gold, and white, whatever the discount bin had offered me. I tied them with uneven knots and taped them along the doorway, already aware that half of them would surrender to gravity by noon. I didn't care. Lily wouldn't. I flipped pancakes, the first one burning like it always did, the smell filling the apartment with something warm and hopeful. I lined up candles on the counter, 10 of them, tall and thin, and practiced lighting them quickly, just in case she came out early. When Lily finally burst from her room, it was like a small storm had been released. "I'm 10, she shouted, hair wild, pajama top on backward, socks not even pretending to match. She ran straight into me, arms wrapping tight around my waist, her whole body pressed against mine like she needed proof I was real. I nearly dropped the spatula. "Happy birthday, baby," I said, my voice already thick. She pulled back just enough to look up at me, eyes shining. "This is it," she said seriously. "I'm officially in double digits." We ate pancakes on the couch instead of the table, crumbs everywhere, balloons bobbing lazily above us. She laughed when one detached and drifted down between us like it had given up on life. I let her open her small gifts slowly, carefully peeling tape like each second mattered. After breakfast, I sent messages. Family group chat first. Then individual texts, just in case. "She's awake. 10 today. We're doing cake at 3. I didn't think much of it when no one replied right away. Mornings were busy. People worked. I told myself not to read into things. Lily disappeared into her room and came back holding a small box. "I made something," she said. Inside were party hats, handmade, uneven, glitter shedding everywhere. Each one had a name written in careful marker. Grandma, Grandpa, Aunt Renee, Uncle Mark. She lined them up on the counter like assigned seats. "Do you think they'll come on time?" she asked, not anxious, just curious. Like it was already decided they would. "I think we'll have cake either way," I said gently. She nodded, satisfied with that answer. We spent the late morning decorating. Streamers taped crookedly along the wall. Confetti she sprinkled far too generously. She insisted on setting the table herself, arranging plates like she was hosting something important. Every so often, I checked my phone. Still nothing. By noon, Lily had changed outfits twice, settling on a yellow dress she said made her feel 10-ish. She stood in front of the mirror, practicing what she'd say when everyone arrived. "Thank you for coming," she rehearsed, nodding to herself. "I'm really glad you're here." Something in my chest tightened. I reminded myself they'd been inconsistent before, late, forgetful. But this felt different. This was a birthday. A milestone. They knew that. At 1 o'clock, I finally got a notification. Not a call. Not a text. A reaction in the group chat. A single thumbs up emoji from my mother. No words. No explanation. I stared at the screen longer than I meant to. Lily came up beside me, peering at my phone. "Is that Grandma?" "Yes," I said, forcing a smile. "She saw the pictures. Did she say when she's coming?" I swallowed. "Not yet." We lit the candles anyway at 3. 10 flames flickering softly in the quiet apartment. Lily closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and made her wish with a kind of seriousness only children have. When she blew them out, she clapped for herself, laughing. "Best wish ever," she announced. I clapped too. But as I cut the cake, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a reaction. It was a message that would change everything. The message came through while Lily was licking frosting from her fingers. It wasn't dramatic. No explosion of words. No argument waiting to happen. Just a short line, dropped into the family group chat like it didn't weigh anything at all. Couldn't rearrange plans to deal with a high-energy child today. I read it twice, then a third time, my thumb frozen over the screen. High-energy child. No name. No birthday mention. No acknowledgement that the child in question had just turned 10 and was sitting 6 feet away from me, humming to herself, perfectly content in a moment she thought belonged to all of us. My chest went tight, the way it does before tears or anger or something worse. I didn't respond right away. I set the phone face down on the counter like it might burn me. "Mom," Lily said. "You okay?" "Yes," I said too quickly. "Just cake crumbs." She smiled and went back to her plate. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. Surely someone would step in. Correct it. Say something kinder. Surely this wasn't how the conversation would end. Nothing came. No follow-up. No softening. No apology. By 4 o'clock, the apartment felt smaller. The decorations sagged. The balloons that had survived the morning now hovered low, like they were tired of pretending this was a celebration. Lily dragged her bike helmet out of the hallway. "Can we go outside?" she asked. "I want to ride before it gets dark." We walked down to the sidewalk, her new bike wobbling slightly as she pedaled in uneven circles. She rang the bell every few seconds, laughing at the sound. I waved, smiled, clapped like everything was normal. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. It buzzed again. When Lily finally rode ahead, distracted by a crack in the pavement she decided looked like a lightning bolt, I pulled the phone out. A photo. Posted in our family group chat. Airport windows. Rolling suitcases. My sister Renee's kids grinning with their boarding passes. My parents in the background, my mother's sunglasses pushed into her hair. Caption simply, "Finally happening." The timestamp told me everything I needed to know. They hadn't been busy. They hadn't been late. They hadn't forgotten. They had flown out that morning. My hands shook as I opened Instagram, dread already blooming in my chest. Story after story confirmed it. Renee clinking glasses in an airport lounge. A blurry boomerang of my dad raising a beer. A group shot beneath a neon sign that read "Welcome to Miami." Family trip. All of them. Without us. On Lily's birthday. I slid the phone back into my pocket just as she rode up beside me, breathless. "Did you see that?" she asked, pointing to the sky. "That cloud looks like a dragon." "It does," I said, my voice steady in a way that surprised me. That night, after Lily fell asleep clutching the stuffed rabbit she'd had since preschool, I sat on the edge of my bed and finally typed. "You could have told us." The reply came quickly this time. "It wasn't a good time for Lily anyway," my father wrote. "She gets overwhelmed. We needed a break." A break. From a child. From their granddaughter. I felt something click into place. Not shatter. Not explode. Just click. Like a lock turning. For years, I'd been the reliable one. The one who filled in gaps. Covered bills when retirement didn't stretch far enough. Sent groceries. Paid prescriptions. Answered calls late at night when something else had gone wrong. I had told myself that was what family did. I typed back slowly, carefully. "Then consider this your permanent break. I won't be covering expenses anymore." The chat lit up instantly. Renee reacted with a laughing emoji. My dad called me dramatic. My mom wrote, "Don't do this now. You're emotional." Not one of them said Lily's name. I put the phone down and turned off the light. The next 9 days passed in a strange, quiet way. No calls. No apologies. Just silence thick enough to feel intentional. I took Lily for ice cream on a school afternoon. We sat on the curb, her legs swinging, blue dye staining her tongue as she talked about planets and how Jupiter probably had storms louder than thunder. She didn't ask about anyone else. On the 10th day, my phone exploded. Missed calls. Voicemails. Long messages layered with concern and panic. My mother wrote about rising grocery prices. My father wrote about stress. Renee wrote about how hard things had been for everyone. Still nothing about Lily. I stood in the kitchen, coffee cooling in my hands, watching the messages stack up. For the first time in years, I didn't feel the urge to respond. I muted the group chat. The silence that followed was unsettling at first. Like my body didn't know what to do without the constant pull of obligation. But underneath it, something else existed. Relief. That night, Lily asked if we could plan a small trip. Just us, she said carefully. Like a secret adventure. I opened my laptop and told her to choose. She picked a lake, a tiny cabin, paddle boats. I booked it using the money I usually sent to my parents. For a moment, guilt flickered. Then it faded. The cabin smelled like old wood and pine cleaner, the kind that lingers no matter how many windows you open. Lily loved it immediately. She dropped her backpack on the floor, kicked off her shoes, and ran straight to the back porch, where the lake stretched out in soft gray ripples. "Mom," she called, breathless. "It's so quiet here." That was the point. We spent the first afternoon doing nothing important. Lily traced shapes in the dirt with a stick, naming each one like it mattered. I sat on the porch steps, wrapped in a thin sweater, listening to the sound of water against the dock. No notifications. No guilt-laced messages. Just the space we'd been missing. That night, we roasted marshmallows over a fire pit that smoked more than it burned. Lily charred hers completely and ate it anyway, laughing with sticky fingers. Later, we lay on the narrow bed beneath a window that framed the sky, counting stars until she fell asleep mid-number. For the first time in months, my chest felt loose. When we came back Sunday night, the phone came alive again. Voicemails stacked like unpaid bills. My father's voice sounded worn. "We're behind this month. Things are tight. We were counting on you." My mother cried softly. Not for Lily. For stress. For fear. For everything except what mattered. I didn't call back. The next morning, I took Lily to school like usual. She hopped out of the car, waved, and ran inside, ponytail bouncing. I sat there for a moment after she disappeared, hands still on the steering wheel, breathing through the quiet. The call came that afternoon. "Ms. Collins," the school secretary said carefully, "someone attempted to pick Lily up early today." The world tilted. "She said she was her grandmother," the woman continued. "She knew personal details, but Lily isn't on her pickup list. We didn't release her." I thanked her, my voice steady in a way that didn't match the pounding in my ears. I drove straight to the school. Signed new paperwork. Added passwords. Locked everything down until my hands stopped shaking. That night, my mother left a voicemail, laughing lightly. It was supposed to be a surprise. "You're overreacting." I blocked her number. A week later, a letter arrived. Legal language. Polite. Cold. They were framing my past help as obligation, as proof I owed them. I called a lawyer. I said the words out loud. "I'm no longer providing support." They felt solid. Lily never noticed the shift. She spent her evenings outside with a borrowed telescope, wrapped in a blanket, aiming at the sky with serious focus. Saturn should be there, she'd say, pointing confidently at darkness, even if we can't see it yet. I admired that about her. The messages slowed after that, then stopped. Life didn't explode. It narrowed. And in that narrowing, it softened. The silence didn't last. It never does when people realize they've lost control. It started subtly. A distant cousin liking old photos of Lily on social media. An aunt I barely spoke to sending a message that began with, "I don't know the whole story, but..." I ignored them all. Silence had become a boundary, and I was learning not to explain it away. Then Renee showed up. It was a Saturday afternoon, the kind that feels slow on purpose. Lily was at the table, surrounded by paper and markers, designing what she called a mission map for the summer. Library days. Pancake Sundays. One new place every month. The knock at the door came sharp and unexpected. I looked through the peephole and felt my stomach drop. Renee stood there holding a cardboard box, already wearing the expression she used when she wanted something but planned to pretend she didn't. I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. She talked fast. Too fast. About Mom not sleeping. About Dad's blood pressure. About how everything felt like it was falling apart. She misses Lily, Renee said finally, like she'd reached the point she'd been aiming for. They both do. I didn't answer right away. Renee shifted, frustrated by the silence. You made your point, she said. Don't you think this has gone far enough? I'm not making a point, I said calmly. I'm just not participating anymore. Her face tightened. You're punishing them. No, I said. I stopped enabling them. That's when the mask slipped. She said Lily was getting spoiled. That it wasn't fair for one child to have opportunities while the rest of the family struggled. That I was being selfish. And suddenly it was clear. She wasn't there as my sister. She was there as a negotiator. When she left, I handed the box back unopened. That night, I found a post on Facebook. A photo of my parents' nearly empty refrigerator. A carton of eggs. A bottle of ketchup. The caption read, "This is what happens when children forget who sacrificed for them." I didn't comment. I didn't defend myself. I closed the app and helped Lily tape her mission map to the fridge. Summer rolled forward anyway. Lily thrived in ways that felt almost defiant. Robotics camp. Swimming lessons. Creative writing. She came home every afternoon buzzing with stories, explaining gears or describing the way the pool echoed with laughter. One evening, while we sat on the couch sorting through postcards from places we wanted to visit someday, Lily looked up at me. Mom. Yes. I don't really miss Grandma and Grandpa. I stilled, careful not to react too strongly. Why do you think that is? I asked. She thought for a moment. They never really talked to me. They talked around me. The words landed quietly. No anger. No sadness. Just truth. In September, Renee tried one last time. A message. Shorter. Politer. They're really struggling. Can you help a little? Just until things stabilize. I stared at it for a long time before replying. I already helped for years. I'm done now. Then I blocked her. The guilt didn't come rushing in like I'd been warned it would. What came instead was a strange steadiness, like standing on solid ground after years of shifting weight. Lily turned 11 the following spring. There was no waiting that year. No glancing at the door. No checking phones. She planned the day herself. Planetarium visit. Pizza afterward. A list of questions she wanted to ask about Saturn's rings. This is perfect, she said that morning, brushing her hair with fierce focus. Because it's ours. And it was. By the time autumn settled in, I had stopped flinching when my phone buzzed. Not because the messages had stopped completely, but because I finally understood what they were. They weren't reaching out to reconnect. They were reaching out to rewrite the story. Indirect posts started appearing more often. Quotes about loyalty, about how real family doesn't walk away, about sacrifices children never understand until it's too late. They floated across my feed like fog, vague enough to deny, sharp enough to sting. I scrolled past them without reacting. Lily noticed, though. Are they talking about us? She asked one evening as we sat on the couch, her feet tucked under her, notebook balanced on her knees. Some people talk when they don't know how to listen, I said. She accepted that answer easily. She usually did when the truth wasn't tangled in excuses. Our routines held. Library Saturdays. Pancake Sundays. Long conversations about things Lily cared about and therefore mattered to me. She'd started keeping journals filled with diagrams of imaginary solar systems, each planet labeled with careful handwriting and impossible facts she'd invented herself. One afternoon, as we walked home from the library, she slipped her hand into mine and said, "I like our life." So did I. The last real attempt came quietly. An email. From my father. No accusations. No guilt. Just exhaustion typed into neat paragraphs. He wrote about aging. About fear. About how things hadn't turned out the way they planned. He said they never meant to hurt Lily. That Miami hadn't been what it looked like. That they thought she wouldn't notice. That line stopped me. They thought she wouldn't notice. I read the email twice. Then I closed it without responding. Because there was nothing left to explain. They had noticed when the money stopped. They noticed when access disappeared. They noticed when control slipped. They hadn't noticed Lily. Winter passed gently. No dramatic fallout. No collapse. Just distance. And in that distance, clarity. I used to think cutting people off required proof. Some undeniable moment that made the loss unavoidable. But what I learned was simpler and harder. You don't need permission to stop being mistreated. You don't need consensus. You don't need applause. You just stop. Lily never asked why they didn't call anymore. She filled her days with questions and plans and quiet confidence. She asked things like whether mountains remembered footsteps and if stars ever got tired of shining. One night, as we lay on the couch watching a documentary about space, she turned to me and said, "I think families are supposed to make you feel bigger." I smiled. "I think you're right." She yawned, satisfied, and rested her head on my shoulder. In that moment, I knew we hadn't lost anything essential. We had gained room. Nearly a year passed before I noticed how much lighter my life felt. Not lighter in a dramatic, celebratory way. There were no fireworks, no triumphant moments where I stood taller because I'd won. It was lighter in the way your body feels after you finally set down something heavy you didn't realize you've been carrying for years. The tension in my shoulders eased. My sleep deepened. I stopped rehearsing conversations that never happened. I stopped bracing myself for disappointment. Lily grew. Not suddenly, not in a way you could measure on a doorframe, but steadily, confidently, like a plant finally getting enough sunlight. She filled notebooks with missions she designed for us: cook something new, visit a place we'd never been, learn one fact that made us say wow. She taped them to the fridge next to photos from our small trips and postcards we mailed to ourselves, proof that our world was expanding in ways that mattered. Spring came early that year. On Lily's 11th birthday, there was no waiting, no checking phones, no wondering who might still be deciding whether she was worth showing up for. She planned the day herself weeks in advance. A planetarium visit in the morning, pizza afterward, A list of questions she wanted to ask the guide about Saturn's rings and black holes. "This is perfect already," she said that morning, brushing her hair with focused determination. "Because it's ours." And it was. No messages came in from my parents. None from Renee. Just quiet, broken occasionally by distant relatives posting vague quotes about family loyalty and sacrifice. I stopped reading them. Somewhere along the way, I realized something important. When I stopped sending money, explanations, and emotional access, my family didn't fall apart. They adjusted their narrative. They weren't afraid of losing me. They were afraid of losing what I provided. That understanding didn't hurt the way I thought it would. It settled instead, heavy but solid, like a truth I could finally stand on. One afternoon, while Lily was working on a cardboard model of Jupiter at the kitchen table, she looked up at me. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "I don't really miss Grandma and Grandpa." I froze for half a second, careful not to let my reaction steer her. "Why do you think that is?" I asked. She shrugged. "They never really talked to me. They talked around me. That was it. No bitterness. No anger. Just clarity." Later that month, one final message came through before I blocked the last remaining thread. Renee again. She didn't accuse. She didn't apologize. She said our parents were struggling and asked if I'd reconsider helping a little, just until things stabilized. I stared at the screen for a long time before typing. I already helped for years. I'm done now. Then I blocked her, this time without hesitation. It wasn't cruelty. It was consistency. Summer came, then fall. Our routines held. Library days. Pancake Sundays. Long talks on the couch about things that mattered to Lily and therefore mattered to me. I used to think boundaries had to be explained, defended, justified. Now I knew better. Boundaries don't ask permission. They just exist. Looking back, it's easy to say it all started with a birthday. A missed cake. A flight to Miami no one bothered to mention. But that's not really true. It started years earlier. Every time I paid a bill instead of being present. Every time I swallowed disappointment so someone else could stay comfortable. Every time I told myself, this is just how families are. The birthday didn't break us. It exposed us. Lily and I didn't lose a family. We shed a weight. And in the space it left behind, we built something smaller, quieter, and infinitely stronger. I showed up for my child. I showed up for myself. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was leaving anything behind that mattered.